Well, hey, hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of Tech Tip Tuesday. My name's Ken Close, Healy World member here in the United States, engineer, lover of the technology, and a pioneer from way back in the olden days when Healy first got started. And I'm super happy to be joined by my guest host, Henry Pena. He is the man of the hour when it comes to the onboarding and now some of the new little tidbit videos and trainings. Hey, Henry, thanks for being here tonight.
Hello, Ken. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction and welcome everybody to Tech Tip Tuesday. As always, you're more than welcome to use the chat at any moment to ask any questions you want. We'll be more than happy to make sure that you leave this session with everything answered.
That's the key thing, right? You guys come on in with all the confusion, all the chaos, all the disorder, and guess what? When you leave, we're gonna have you smooth sailing. That's our idea. So let me tell you how this works, guys. For those of you that have been here before, welcome. Thank you for coming. Love the repeat attendance. But for you that are brand new, here's how this works. We are a chat-based forum. So you guys put your questions over there in the chat, right? Henry and I will pop those into the live conversation, and we will unpack those. We'll research those. We'll show all kinds of things we can show to make sure you understand the answer. And then, if you got more questions because the answer, hey, more the merrier. Let's just keep going. So that's what we're here for. We're here to solve the mysteries of Healy. What we can't do is we can't treat, diagnose, or prevent any medical condition, so we can't talk about that. We can point you to resources, though. By the way, Healy's got some amazing resources for that kind of thing. So keep your questions to the apps, the tech, the theories, the science, all that kind of fun stuff, and we'll be able to really dig deep into those. And sometimes fasten your seatbelts because we do dig a little deep sometimes.
Yeah, when we start talking about quantum entanglement and quantum physics and all of that, that's things will get pretty interesting.
That's right. Put your seatbelt on, put on that thinking cap because we're going to help you understand. I love it. I love it. Okay, guys. So let's get this party started, right? We're recording. We're ready to go. So fire away, everybody. What do you got?
Let's see
And
some
if you,
interesting questions, some hard ones,
yeah, right.
challenges.
Let's get something. So let's to think about it this way too. If you don't have a question, what is some of the experiences you've had, and you're like, how in the heck, right? Could this be so dang accurate? I mean, I get that all the time. It's like I get people that say, Ken, this is eerie that it's so much information about me. How's it know about me? Well, you heard Henry say it, quantum entanglement, right? This is an amazing way that this little technology infuses to that quantum field of information. So let's hear it. What's your questions, everybody?
And it's interesting, Ken, that you mentioned that because I know it may sound super silly, but so every time that I've been doing the onboarding in the last few weeks or so, I do the All Healy Programs database and I get the beauty program group. And then I do that one and I always get aging. And it's funny because, I just turned 30 years old. I know it may sound silly. I was like, oh, it's only 30 years old. But the fact that it's a milestone for me, like everybody's like, oh, you just turned 30, you just turned 30. And it's really about how you feel. It's not about, it's not about, like what objectively 30 years old means is how you feel, which is why sometimes you also, when you get the coaching results on the analysis, you may take those results personally, right? You would get maybe finances or social relationships and be like, well, I mean, but I have money, or no, I have friends, or I have good family relationships. But it's not so much about what you have compared to other people. It's about how you feel about those things. So the fact that I turned 30, it's a milestone. I've been getting comments from people like, oh, you turned 30. Oh, you're getting those white hairs now, whatever. It in one way or another, it's being reflected in the app. It just keeps showing up, aging, aging, aging.
I love that. I love that because it is so true. We look at things from a subjective perspective. We have some opinions, some ego, and ego's not a bad word. Don't take it weird. But we have some subjective opinion about things, whether it be aging or finances or relationship, whatever it is. But Healy, it's just information field content. It is objective. And so it's just information, night and day, old or young, man or woman. It's all just information. And the field just aligns information with the database or whatever the analytics that you're looking at. And it just gives you the best case answer, right? I love it.
Mhm.
Oh, let's see. So it looks like we've got a question popping in here. It says, a question about running resonance frequencies for clients. Okay. I usually start with a scan. If I treat the client once a day, I'll do all the All Healy, which I'm assuming All Healy program scan on the first day, and then run the 5 from the list, one at a time for an hour with space in between. Is 6 minutes for each an appropriate amount of time for each program with breaks in between, or shall I run one program per day for longer periods of time? So this is trying to come up with like, okay, how should I send information into the client's field? So let me give you a little hint. And we kind of alluded to this just a minute ago, Henry, where the quantum entanglement. So when it comes to the quantum field, when it comes to energy, there is no time, right? So in other words, if you send somebody all of the frequencies for one fraction of a second, they're received into their field at the speed of light instantaneously. Their energetic blueprint is upregulated by the information, right? It happens instantaneously. Now, when we run it for longer periods of time, what that does is that simply rains that information down on the biology, right? In the physical presence of time and space, because that's where our body lives, doesn't it? It lives in time and space. But our blueprint lives in the quantum field where there is no time. It's instantaneously. It's instantaneous. So however long you run this, and there is information about, are we addressing the acute conditions or the systemic conditions, the longer periods of time for more systemic conditions, shorter periods of time for acutes, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of information out there. And I think the Academy has some content about that, right? When it comes, actually, the Academy put some things out about the coaching module and gives some timings, right, around how much time to spend sending coaching module content. It's no different when we're talking about the All Healy program information or one of the databases such as Bachflower. It's no different, right? So anything you want to put in there, Henry?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as I always tell everybody in the onboarding sessions, I think the rule of thumb, because yeah, you can always go with the little graphic that presentation shows, which is the same one that I also show in the presentation. The thing is that it will vary based on whether or not it's a conscious or a subconscious topic, which varies based on the relevance, which is one of the parameters that you get on the app, right? So it can get a little complex. So my rule of thumb is always when it comes to vibrations, you want to treat them the similar way, since it's all about consciousness and information more than tangible energy. You want to look at it the same way that you work with manifestations. It's not something that you do once a day. It's usually a process that requires a certain degree of repetition. And it's something that you normally don't want to do for long periods of time. That's the same with manifestations. You usually don't, you don't sit for an hour reading manifestation. You usually do it multiple times a day for short periods of time. It's the exact same way, because ultimately what you do with this app is that you do an analysis, you get insights which are presented to you in the database of information patterns, which ultimately are affirmations, and you read this. You want to do this multiple times a day, short periods of time. 30 seconds to 30 minutes. 30 seconds to 3 minutes, usually maximum. And you do want to have enough time to read all of the affirmations that you get, all of the list. So what I mean by this is that if you end up with 6 results, you don't want to go with only, 20 seconds and then not having the chance to read the other 3 results that were left, because it's going to be scrolling slowly, so you have the time to read them. So that should give you a general idea. Again, rule of thumb, short periods of time, 30 seconds to 3 minutes usually, and then multiple times a day, which again, usually can vary between 2 to 6 times a day. Honestly, I always say, if you're a busy person, I know a lot of us are busy, we have or different things going on in our lives. I always say, if you have at least time to run it once or twice, it's better than not run anything at all. So again, if you can run it 3 times, 4 times, 6 times, short periods of time, awesome. If you can only do it once or twice, again, do it that way because it's better than not doing it at all and then losing the habit of running the vibrations. And then also keep in mind whenever you do this, you usually want to stick with the analysis. You do an analysis and you want to work on creating those habits. It's not something that you do an analysis and then tomorrow you do another analysis and then now you're working on a completely different topic.
Yeah, remember when you do these analysis, every one of those will net you 5 components to the result. It'll pick 5 of the top most highest priority components of that database. If it's the All Healy Programs, the initial analysis is going to pick 5 pages. Okay, now remember, this is a full 5 pages of content, and each page could have up to 12 programs. So that's a lot of information. And so when you're sending information to a field, there's not really a storage max. You know, you're not gonna overdo a storage in someone's field. But if we're trying to get very specific, I'm all about efficiency. And if we're trying to get specific, I like to see what's the top of the top. You know, what is the most relevant of the most relevant. And so when we do a scan and we get all Healy programs and we have 5 pages, then I'll do a scan on each one of those pages individually. So now I'm looking at the first page, gives me 5 programs of that first page in proper priority order, right? 1 through 5. And then I'll scan the second page from my original analysis. That gives me 6 through 10, basically. We're going in series. So another 5 from that page. And then it's going to be 5 from each one of those pages. So it's 1 through 25. I kind of make a list of just like that, 1 through 25. Now, guess what? I have kind of what I call a recipe of 25 programs in proper order of need, in my body or my client's need. And so if I'm going to do, say, just 3 of those programs a day, or even just 1 a day, guess what? If I'm going to send 1 a day into their field for multiple times a day, as Henry was saying, now I have almost a whole month's worth of content, don't I? Right? And so the longer you do that, because you, like Henry said, you want to apply this for a long period of time, allowing the biology, which is subjected to space and time. It's a physical matter in form. And it takes longer to change than to rewrite somebody's field. So giving it more days per week, right? And not so many, and times per day, just a few times per day, small little increments, is going to have a huge effect. And then, as Henry said, don't scan every day. I get this all the time because it's like, okay, let's look at it this way. If I was to give you an amazing diet, right? And you start that diet today, and then, you know, you call up Henry tomorrow and say, Henry, what's your diet? And Henry says a different diet tomorrow, and you try that one tomorrow. And then every day you're trying a new diet. How do you know which one works? Right? You didn't give any one of them enough time to actually solidify the change in your body. So this is the key. The body is kind of hostage to space and time, whereas the information field is not. So give yourself time, right, when you're doing these things. Does that make sense? I mean, yeah, let's do it. And so in regards to the earlier question about how much time to implement, you know, if you're doing 6 minutes or whatever. So there's a comment that came back to follow up on that about they're not talking about the coaching program. You're talking about the other ones. I hear you. And the only reason I mentioned coaching program is because in the academy, it goes into how much time you apply a frequency to a client. And it's the same, whether it's the coaching module, the All Healy program module, or the Bachflower module. The theory of time applies across the board. Okay. And the only reason I said that is because that's where actually there's training about that time allocation. Okay. All right. Let's see. What else we got, Henry?
So I did see that we have one where it was more like a tip. Said, so I don't have a question, but a tip after trying various essential oils to get rid of, and I wasn't sure what Lily meant by this, and I added an anti-ant rife frequency from the internet to my Healy, and it works.
Oh, yeah. So a rife frequency, something from, so again, you know, scanning in a frequency from another source into your HealAdvisor app. And so that's another, yeah, that's another kind of advanced form of using it. And then I saw that question about the onboarding. Somebody's asking you what's onboarding session. So Henry's the expert on that. He gave a
Yeah,
little bit of,
absolutely. So I actually shared the link right there. So for the onboarding, it's basically a live sessions, personalized. I mean, it really depends on how many people we have in the session, but sometimes we even have, sometimes it's like it ranges, anywhere from one person to 5 people. It really varies, but sometimes it's cool, when it's only 1 or 2 people, because it becomes a very personalized experience. You can ask questions. And basically what I do there right now, we have 2 different sessions, which I just recorded one of them, so it's going to be available on YouTube. That way, if you don't want to go on the live session, you have the recording. But basically, this is live sessions where I go over all the functionalities of Healy. I explain the science behind Healy. I do an unboxing. I explain the warranty. I explain the different apps that you can use, the difference between each of the apps, what the Healy coil is, the difference between using the cables and the coil. I go over all of the different resources and knowledge databases that you can use to continue learning about Healy on your own. So it's definitely the perfect place for anybody who is new to Healy, or even those who have been with us for a while but still feel somewhat unfamiliar with some of the concepts and some of the the usage of the different apps and stuff. Definitely the right place to go. I shared the link right there in the chat, which you can actually save. We'll provide you instructions at the end on how to save it, but basically you press the 3 little dots on the top on the chat, and then you can download it from there. But yeah, you just need to go to that link, then you choose a time that works for you. We usually have plenty of availability there. And if you're just starting with Healy, you kind of want to start from scratch. You want to go with the one that's called Getting Started with Your Healy Device. That one is specifically for those who want basically the very beginning of Healy, the science, the everything.
I love it. So, yeah, when I get people going, it's one of those things. It's like, look, we can do a shallow dive for right now, just maybe skim the surface, and then we can do deep dive as you master that part. Because it's sometimes people just want to dive into the deep end, and what we want to try to do is avoid maybe getting overwhelmed and go, man, I didn't had no idea I could do all this. We always start simple and then move up and move up, and then of course people come here, right, to maybe do a little deeper dive and they get a better understanding. Let's see. There's a question about, do you have a availability on Saturday?
So
Do you,
we're not open. So no, we don't. We're not open right now on Saturday or Sunday. We're not available for Saturday and Sunday. So it's only available during the weekdays. So if you go there, you're gonna see that there's plenty of times, but only from Monday to Friday.
all right. And by the way, the Academy, if you go to academy .healy.world, and you can go into your this is a global academy, so click on US if you're US or wherever you're from. I know we get some people on here that are in other areas, but if you Henry put on EU.academy, so that's going to run you right to the US. But you can go to that academy, and once you go there, you can log in and you can get so much information. There's different categories, by the way. I highly recommend just go there and explore, right? There's a lot of stuff that you can learn right out of the chute. You can actually gain certificates for running through courses, right? So learning, and they're just videos, and then you take a little test, see how well you did. There's things around getting started. There's all kinds of different categories. And I highly recommend, like I said, just get in there and take a look. The content I talked about is under the, when I talked about the timing thing, and there's some learning in there around the coaching module. So you can look in the coaching module, you'll see stuff there. There's everything about the apps. There's some stuff about science. Yeah. I mean, I say go to Healy School, especially when you're first getting started. I always guide my folks to go to Healy School for like an hour a day, right? You do something that you're investigating. If you're a member, go into your back office. If you are a customer, go to your shop page, because that's what there's a science tab in the shop page. Hey, you could learn something in there. And then of course the Academy is available to everybody with a Healy. So cool stuff there, right?
That's right. And I did see that Sophronia did ask, about the definitions of the program. So there's different ways that you can actually access some of the definitions of the program. Sometimes the descriptions may not be super long, but it should give you a general understanding of what the programs are for. So there are different ways, right? If you're familiarized with the HealAdvisor Analyse 2 app, which is also known as the Blue app, that's a very easy way to get to know the meaning of the general program group. So it's not going to give you a definition of the specific programs, but it will give you a definition of the program group, which should give you a general understanding of what those programs within the program group are for. How do you do that? Well, you go on the Heal, let's say you open the HealAdvisor Analyse 2 app, then you go on the resonance analysis, and then once you go on the resonance analysis, you're going to have the chance to go to a section that says, let's say you go to the Gold Cycle programs, you press Gold Cycle programs, and then you're going to see a text at the bottom that says further info on this database. You click right there, and then it's going to show you what you can expect, that the benefits that you could expect to get from that particular program group. Now, if you're looking for the specific benefit, the specific effects of a particular, or the description of a particular program, that's where you want to go to the actual Healy app manual or Healy app guide. And that's going to be found, just like Ken said, there's different ways to access it, but if you want to access it from your computer, you go to the Healy Academy, you go to courses, actually you go to downloads, Healy Academy downloads, and then in the download section, you're going to find a bunch of different PDFs, and you're going to find one that says Healy app manual. That's the one you need. You can actually filter it, so you can choose so that it only shows manuals, and then you download that manual, and you're going to see that after page 6 or 7, actually after page 7, I think, that's when you're going to start seeing all of the different program groups, the descriptions, and then the little description for each program. So again, you have 3 ways to access it. You have the HealAdvisor Analyse 2 app if you want to look at the program description, the program group description. You have the manual, which can be downloaded digitally from your computer on the Healy Academy under the download section. And then you can also access that same manual from the Healy 2 app, the pink app. You simply go to the app, you go where it says Information Center, and then right there, you're going to see a section that says Guide. You can download it from there. So you have 3 different places where you can access those definitions.
Great information. That's so awesome. Let's see. Rafael has a question about the sticky pads. And I'm new to Healy. Well, hey, welcome to Tech Tip Tuesday, by the way. Thanks for being here. I received the sticky pads with my Healy, but they don't stick. And I get the message that the current isn't getting through. Are the bracelets something I can use instead of the pads? Great question, because I mean, when you look at the app, right, you open the app and it tells you, I don't know, you're using the muscle program. My favorite, by the way. You're using the muscle program, and there shows a picture of these 2 little round dots, right, on your wrist. And you're like, okay, that must be these little sticky pads, right? Okay, so you can supersede, or in other words, substitute the wristbands where it's showing you on the wrists, the wristbands instead of the sticky pads. Now, in terms of how the sticky pads work, they're called sticky pads because you peel them off and there's a rubberized sticky material here on the back. And when they're brand new, they're pretty sticky, but hey, if you're trying to stick them to a hairy arm, right, it doesn't stick so good that way. And so you got to find places that, maybe it's going to stick better. Now, let me give you a little hint. So these little guys, they do dry out, and if you're sticking them onto your skin and you've got, say, moisturizers or other skin topical creams or stuff like that, it's going to get on the pad. So you want to wash the area off. That's very important because it gets on here and then they lose their stickiness. If they do lose their stickiness, okay, run them under some warm water, right? And just with your finger, just kind of rinse off the contaminants, rinse them off, shake them off, and then put them back on the clear pad, right? And then it kind of rehydrates the stickiness. And then you can put them back on your body to use them. Now, the I think the most popular application or use for the sticky pads is when you're pinpointing specific areas of your body for the app or for the program, whatever the program is, right? Especially say on the stimulation page, the pain stimulation page. We're trying to address very specific areas of the body where we're trying to interfere with, or I should say, inject information into our nervous system. And so it shows pictures where you put it on the mastoid bone, which are these bones at the base of the skull, or another area on the back of your back, which is called the brachial plexus. It's just right up here next to the spine, right? Just right up along the muscle structure up there. So you're trying to speak to the brain, okay? And so that's important with doing that with the sticky pads. They're typically designed to be used with the programs that are what we call acute applications, right? They're acute applications, and you'll see that on the program. It will say acute, and then when you open the picture or you open the app, the program itself, it'll show you a picture of these stuck somewhere on the body, okay? So if they're not sticking right, a little warm water, wipe them off, and then try applying them. I don't recommend applying them on hairy areas. They're not going to stick that great. The other thing you can do, if you do need to apply them on the body somewhere and they're not staying, especially if it's on the back, I usually will lay back on a pillow, right? I'll lay back on a pillow, kind of put some pressure on them, hold them on there, right? And then adjust the current flow so you don't get that message. So one thing I do want to say that the application of the current, the surface area size of these little sticky pads is only 1.2 square inches versus the wristband can be up to 5, depends on the diameter of your wrist, can be up to 5 square inches. And so when you're applying current flow in a smaller area of the body versus over a larger area of the body, it could feel more intense. So make sure you don't think you're going to use the same intensity level with the sticky pads as you may with the wristbands. Because you may feel the woohoo a little bit too much, right? So just pay attention to that. All right. Okay. I think, are we caught up, Henry?
Yes, so we actually, the only question I think we're missing, and that was a great explanation, Ken. So I think the only one we're missing is this one by Rita. She said, "Hi guys, any idea why my MagHealy no longer turns off the green light when the program is completed? Also, is it still generating a magnetic field until the switch is turned off? Thank you."
Great question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So it is interesting, that technically the MagHealy should turn off that green light. So as you're running a program, let's remind ourselves that the Healy has different modes, right? So when you have your MagHealy connected to the base, so if you have it, let's say that you have your MagHealy and you have it placed on this base, right? And the base is connected to electricity. As soon as you place it, if you have it on position 1, it's going to turn on the green light, the ring light around the MagHealy, if it's in position 1 or 3, if it's charging. Now, the moment you disconnect that, and that's only while it's running a program. So the ring light will only light up as you're running a program. So keep that in mind. If you're talking about the green light on top of the MagHealy, that one will always be blinking in 2 scenarios. If you're charging your MagHealy and you're not running any program, that green light will be blinking, indicating it's charging. Let's say that you take off your MagHealy from the charging pad. Now you're just having your MagHealy independently. If you're running a program, position 2, and again, in position 1, your MagHealy will not work if it's not connected to the charging pad. So in this example, let's assume the MagHealy is not placed in the charging pad. Position 1, the MagHealy will not turn on. Position 2, the MagHealy, while you start running a program, the green light should be blinking. Once that program is over, the MagHealy should technically turn off. The only reason why it would not turn off, if you already have it connected, if you still have it connected to the app, by the time that the program ends. At that moment, the light might still be on. So that's why my recommendation personally is that you close the app. Once you start selecting the program, you set the intensity that you want, you can fully close the app and the MagHealy will continue to transmit the program. Now, keep in mind that if you're running an atmosphere program, those programs don't have a maximum end time. So it will just keep running until the MagHealy runs out of battery. So that's something to know. And then if you have the MagHealy of the charging base on position 3, that's when it's going to not only turn on the green light on top, but it will also start lighting the green light around the MagHealy. So it should be pretty obvious whether a program is running or not. Taking all of that into consideration, I honestly feel that the green light shouldn't stay light up. If you follow those recommendations, just make sure that the app is not open. If the app is open, the green light may still be on. So my recommendation, again, close the app. That will also disable the Bluetooth on your MagHealy until you try to connect it the next time. And then at that point, I think you should be good.
Yeah, it's the position of the power switch is a pretty critical. When I say this power switch, I call it the power switch. It's just the switch on the side that has position 1, 2, and 3 here. If you're running your MagHealy's running, and the green light's on, you got the app operating, and so you're gonna see the oscillations of the lights based on, you can see it very good here. There it goes. When you're running that program. If you, let's just do an experiment. I'll show you. When you hard close the app, that means the app is no longer connected via the Bluetooth on either device, the Healy or the MagHealy, and the blue light will go off. But if your switch is still in position 2, the green light's going to stay on. If you switch it to position 1, the green light should go off. And position 1 is kind of like off, right? Again, like Henry said, though, if it's on the charge plate, that won't happen because it thinks it's still on. When it's on the charge plate, same thing as with the Healy's plugged in. When it's plugged in, it thinks it's still on. And as far as the app's concerned, it is turned on. It is turned on. So when you open the app, it's going to show up in the app as attachable. You can connect to it. But as you know, when you have the Healy plugged in and you attach to it with the app and you try to send it pink dot programs, it's going to say, nope, sorry, you can't do that when it's plugged in. The MagHealy, not the same. You can, with it on the charge plate, send it information and run programs. In fact, here's another question in here about the leaving the MagHealy on. Where'd it go? Leaving it on the charge plate.
On the base while sending frequencies.
Yes. So if you have, as Henry showed you, the charge plate, if you have the MagHealy on the charge plate, it's charging, and you can run it forever when it's on there. However, I don't recommend that because just like any other battery operated device, we want to fully deplete the battery and fully charge the battery on a regular basis. That keeps like the good workout routine for the battery. It makes the battery more healthy, last longer. You're going to get a better performance out of it. So I don't recommend leaving it on the charge plate 24/7. You need to find time in which you allow the MagHealy to completely deplete itself, go dead, right? And the way you'll don't know that is the app will say the battery is too low to run a program. Okay, all right. So turn it off, turn it to the number 1 position on the switch, put it on the charge plate, leave it alone. Right? Don't run any programs. I know it's really hard not to, right? Restrain yourself. You can do this. Just find a time in which you can do this little workout. Call it the workout for your MagHealy. Okay. Recharge it fully and then take it off the charge plate and use the heck out of it. Okay. All right. Do that regularly, folks. I highly recommend that. You're just going to make it last a lot longer. Okay.
That's right, Ken. The other thing I wanted to mention, because I did see that Rita mentioned, she followed up and said, yes, it is not turning off and the app is turned off as soon as the program is set. Again, the only clue that we're missing here is whether or not the MagHealy is placed on the charging pad. if your MagHealy is placed on the charging pad, even if you close the app, if the program ends, it will technically still be charging the MagHealy. So you will see the green light blinking. Now, if it's off the charging base, the app is closed and you run the program, and the program is not an atmosphere program, meaning it's not a program that has infinite duration. And you see that the green light is still on, the MagHealy is unplugged. Then at that point, then you may want to reach out for us for support, just so we can do an evaluation. We can have a video call with you, and then we can make sure that everything is working fine. Remember that if you ever run into any technical issues, you can quickly reach out to us by using the live chat feature on our official Healy website. In the case of the United States, it's us.healy.shop. You go there, and then on the bottom right corner, you're going to be able to see to submit a live chat. And then you need to select the technical support department for those type of tickets.
Okay, I did see a question there earlier about, what was it? I don't think we've addressed it yet. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Okay, so one more question. I'm scanning every day under the resonance program. Are you saying not to scan every day? Can you please help explain the process? Yes. Okay, like I said, I know I'm not saying it's necessarily right or wrong. But what I'm saying is when you're doing a scan and it comes up with results, you are a different person, quite honestly, every moment of every day. Okay. And to the tune of 800,000 cells per second, you're a different person. This is what the body naturally does. And so when you do a scan on that cell system at this moment, it's going to give you some results. And then when you start applying those results via, whether it's via the microcurrent with the pink app or the vibrate mode with the blue app, or you're utilizing some of the Bach flower remedies or the essential oils or whatever the database has told you to do, when you are applying that and consuming that, and your body, remember, your body is a walking, talking antenna. And so these systems are sending information into your field, and your body is receiving this information, decoding it, and like this key word is decoding it, and then that information is being written to your cells, your system. Okay, so when there's something that's kind of very important, it's significant, right? A condition that the scan is identified, and you're not applying the frequencies for long enough for the body to actually get some kind of biological upgrade or shift. And then you do another scan, and there's going to be different information because it's a different you in that moment. You're not giving it enough time to actually do its work. It's like bouncing. If you don't know where you live, you're bouncing from this house to that house to the other house. You're all over the place, and you're not living in one spot. It's kind of chaotic. No different than this diet one day, another diet the next day, and the third diet on the third day, and so on. You're all over the place, and the body really never has time to solidify any one of those instructions. You're giving it instructions. It's an antenna receiving information. You're giving it instructions. So here's the way that I work, and many of the coaches in the field. Again, doesn't matter if you're a sports coach or a personal coach, a life coach, or a holistic coach. We want to give the body time, and this is why people go to practice. Right? Practice to dribble the ball, get your skills better, get the biology in the body to understand how it works. Same thing here. Apply the vibrational frequencies for longer periods of time. I mean, you didn't have a Healy before, and you were kind of going by intuition. Now you have a device that's connected to the quantum field, giving you objective advice, and you're going, well, I don't know. I mean, yesterday, I don't like yesterday's results. I'm going to do today's results, right? Maybe you're like, I'm going to do a scan today because I'm going to do what it says today instead of yesterday. Give yourself time. I highly recommend, and when I say time, I'm not talking 1 day, 2 days, 1 week. I'm talking a couple of weeks, right? So there's ways to do that. Now, if you're looking at a different database, then that's different information, isn't it? And you can add that to the scan you did on database A, whatever that is. You can do a scan on every database and get content to flood your body with, right? Nothing wrong with that. It's coming from a different angle. But stick with the contents of one evaluation from one database for a minimum of 1 week. A minimum. Okay? Hopefully that helps. I know it may not be what you want to hear, but I'm going to tell you, here's how you work from a coach's perspective. Give that body some time. All right.
That's
All
perfect.
right.
And the other thing I wanted to mention in regards to that, because I feel that sometimes people miss it, is, and this has to do more with the interface. When you do an analysis, you have a history section. That's how you vibrate the same analysis multiple times. Because if you simply try to go to the resonance module and do another analysis, and you run that new vibration, now you're not running the same thing you were running before. So now you're getting a complete new analysis with maybe a completely different result. So they tend to be relatively similar if nothing has really changed energetically within you. But ideally, you do want to stick, as Ken said, at least for a week with the same analysis. Again, you do the analysis, whether it's on yourself, on the me section, history, or on a client, you select the client, and then the client will have his own history, and you would go to the same analysis you did, and then you vibrate that same analysis. If it happened 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, you can simply go back. You're going to see a little arrow that allows you to go to previous weeks, and then you can actually click on the blue text. It's like a calendar section right there. Instead of going to the previous week, which says this week, you click there and it opens a calendar. That way you can navigate to the specific date that you're trying to go. But just keep in mind, you do want to be using that history. Otherwise, you will not be able to access scans from previous times, analysis from previous time. And you do want to make sure you're using that.
100%, 100%. You know, think about this too when we're doing these analysis, and you're essentially vibrating information into your field. You're using the blue app or the HealAdvisor app right over here off my shoulder. This guy, you're using that app, and it's upgrading the quantum field. So think of it this way, as that you have a blueprint. Every one of us has a blueprint. Okay. And this blueprint has no flaws, by the way. Because if we understand Einstein's principle of the observer effect, it requires a consciousness to observe some waveform into material form. Okay. Well, what do you mean by that, Ken? Well, the outer world, actually everything is vibrating all the time, including these bodies. They're vibrating very slowly, so it feels like solid mass. But it requires an observer, a consciousness, to take all the potentials within a genetic expression. So remember what I said earlier, 800,000 cells per second. So that genetic code, only 3% of that code determines the bone cell, skin cell, muscle cell, whatever the cell is going to be. And it's still going to look like you. Only 3% says that that's still going to be you and that type of cell. The other 97% is an adaptive gene reading the environment to decide what quality and kind, so you will survive in the environment in which you dwell. You understand? You follow that so far? So if we, now remember that the outside environment to the cell is the inside environment of your body. And what did I say earlier? You're a walking, talking antenna. Okay, guess what you're receiving? Information, frequencies. And those frequencies are going into the body, and that 97% of the adaptive gene is reading the frequency to tell it what quality and kind of cell. So now we're able to kind of like, we're going to get in there and get juicy and give it some information to make it more better. And all of a sudden now we're speaking to this adaptive, what we call epigenetic phenomenon of us. And we become better. Now, can the opposite happen? Yeah, you're a walking, talking antenna. So environments in which you feel chaos, disorder. Have you ever walked into a room and you get this little tingly sense like, ooh, I don't like it in here. All right, get out. Because that's your body as an antenna reading the field. Right? Anyway, hopefully that helps. Uh, okay. What else we got?
No,
Um,
that was an awesome explanation, Ken. Now I do see I feel like we have missed a couple of questions. At least there was one a while ago that I did see that I want to make sure we don't forget to answer. Let's see where it was. Let's see. Oh no, I lost it. It was about sleeping.
oh yeah, I saw that. It was about running the sleep program during the day.
During the day. Yeah, during the day, exactly.
Yeah,
So yeah, it is, yeah. In resonance, is it okay to run the sleep program during the day or should it always be at night? That was the question.
a great question because okay, well, first of all, why are you running the sleep program? We need to listen to our body. So something's going on with our body, okay? And let's say we're running the sleep program through the resonance. Okay, so it's writing up to our field, the quantum field of us. And so that information is coming down essentially from your blueprint, influencing biology. Influencing biology. So why are you running the sleep program? What's the purpose of that? Is it so you can take a nap during the day? Is it because your autonomic nervous system is in such chaos, you're in fight or flight all the time, that you need that, or what? So okay, so here's a follow-up. So the answer to that is the sleep comes up when I scan the clients often. Okay, so I do this with folks. Understand that there are two very distinct points in every circadian rhythm in which our consciousness and subconscious are looking through the same window, right? Essentially, it's where they're the closest in proximity. And that's as you're transitioning from sleep into wake in the morning and transitioning from wake into sleep in the evening. Those are two very distinct windows in our circadian rhythm in which the subconscious and conscious are close together. So whenever I do a scan on somebody and I'm going to run programs to their field, I want to address both. I want to address conscious and subconscious. So I'm going to utilize one of those windows of opportunity. And that's based on where that client is. So what we can work with people all over the world. So if their waking time is 6 a.m. and that's on the East Coast and that's 3 a.m. for me, well, I better get up and do it, right? Or I'm going to do it earlier later in my night, earlier in their day, so it's influencing them while they're in that sleep state. So the point is we want to influence conscious and subconscious self. Now, yes, the information field is going to be there in that blueprint all the time. If we're looking at sleep programs, I'm not going to recommend giving someone a sleep program during their day because it's going to influence biology. It's going to influence biology. And they may report back to you, oh my gosh, I was so tired today. I don't know what was wrong. You're like, oh, oops, I probably shouldn't have done the sleep program during the day. So you follow me? The thing is we need to use our reasoning skills, even though it comes up on the scan. This is relevant to the person in 100% necessity. But when we apply it, needs to make sure that we're strategic, right? Make sure, make sense, hopefully. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, Ken. And that's another thing about the HealAdvisor, especially when you do an analysis like that. The HealAdvisor Analyze 2 app will require a certain degree of intuition. This is not an app that will just tell you run this program and that's it. Yes, it can tell you which ones are the programs that resonate the most with you, but ultimately the keyword there is resonance. It's what resonates with you. Nobody else can tell you what to run or when to run it. Yes, if you're working with a physician, they can give you a recommendation, but ultimately they're also using their own intuition. That's the whole thing about this app. It will give you recommendations, but you need to choose, all right, what is my intuition telling me based on this, which is why I always, if we just wanted you to run just the program that we tell you, we would just give you the highest result. We wouldn't give you 5 programs. But the reason why we give you 5 programs is so that you actually get the choice to choose for something there. So
You
yeah.
know, and to expand on that too a little bit, if what I do with folks is when I'm doing things remotely, right? It doesn't matter if it's remote or if it's in person, but you're doing things with the resonance program, and you've put the client in there. You are connecting with them. You are letting yourself be out of the equation. All your attention is on them. Where you place your attention is where you place your energy. So when you're doing work with a client, a family member, doesn't matter who it is, in the moment, you need to have your attention on them, not how long is this taking, or I got to go to the bathroom, or what are we going to have for dinner. That's nothing to do with them, right? That's you. You got to get out of the equation. You got to leave that alone. And you got to be in the present moment with them 100%. And then you ask them to do the same. Be present with this moment and this scan. And then when that information comes up, I always say, look, I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to give me a number, just a number. And you already got it. And they'll come up with a number. They say a number. I mean, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 7, whatever the number is that come up with. That's usually the number I use in number of minutes or seconds to send that program to their field, right? That's their input. That's their intuition giving you content. And then I also ask them, when are you most relaxed in your life, in your day? When are you most willing to receive, accept, and surrender to a new program in your circadian rhythm? When is that? And they say, oh my gosh, it's always 2 p.m. in the afternoon. I'm just in this daze and I'm feel like I'm biologically upgrading. Perfect. That's when you send them the information, right? Get them involved. Have them focus on their own healing, right? Get them to be part of the equation, and you'll find their results. Why? It's because they are creating the parameters. They are, even through the placebo effect, believing more in their effectiveness in the process than if they weren't being asked. Okay. That's just the way I work it. And it's been, I mean, it's amazingly successful.
Yeah, I can personally say that I have used the sleep programs. I mean, you're welcome to vibrate. You will get the positive vibration information, but especially when it comes to sleeping programs, I've personally had great success using the Healy coil with some of the, you have one particular program called sleep, so you're gonna have a lot of sleep programs there. And so yeah, just give it a shot and see how it goes. I personally have experienced that sense of relaxation, because you need to keep in mind that sleeping, if you're stressed out and you want to sleep, you're going to have a hard time. And just like Ken said, you do need to have that sense of surrendering, that sense of, you know what, I'm going to let go of my worries, and I'm going to just be very receptive of, whatever benefits this program can give me for relaxation. Because if, and that actually has a lot to do with one of the questions that I see that Maite asked, what program do you use when the person is in fight or flight mode? Even though we cannot really recommend a specific program, if you do a HealAdvisor Analyse resonance analysis, you should pretty much it should give you an understanding on what programs to run, right, based on the resonance. But ultimately, having that receptive mindset and just kind of like surrendering, being able to experience the benefits of whatever program the Heal is going to be throwing at you on the HealAdvisor Analyze 2 app is huge. You need to have that receptive mindset, that need to have control over whatever it is that's happening in your life. You need to let go of that. If you want to sleep, if you want to feel relaxed, you need to let go of that grip. It's kind of like holding, I like this metaphor, it's kind of like holding to a burning coal. If you need to let go of it, you need to let go.
Our autonomic nervous system, right? You've got essentially 2 states of being within the sympathetic or parasympathetic nervous state, and the parasympathetic is that rest and digest state, right? It's a slower brainwave frequency. It's an alpha brainwave frequency. The fight or flight is that sympathetic nervous system, and that's when our system is highly aroused. Our senses are very acute. Blood goes to the extremities to run, fight, or hide, right? Our heart rate increases. Our blood actually thickens in order, this is a natural coagulation process. So again, the body's preparing to be damaged and not bleed to death. All of these things are amazing. And in that fight or flight consumes a tremendous amount of energy. And the interesting part about that is that most people don't know that they're spending so much of their time in that fight or flight nervous response because they just feel like it's just how I am, right? I can handle a lot of stress. Like they wear that as a badge of honor. I'm sorry, folks. The ability to handle a lot of stress is not a badge of honor. Your
No.
mind may say so, but your body speaks a different language, and it is in chaos. And that's not healing. In order for our body to actually digest food, process it into usable energy for cell construction or long-term building projects within the body or repair projects, in order for that to happen, you've got to be in rest and digest. And so this is what's important. And there is a program, and we've talked about this on other trainings. Dr. Steve's talked about this as one of his favorites out there, by the way, and that's the bed rest. And here's why he talks about the bed rest is because the bed rest is one program that's not designed to get you sleepy. It's designed to put you into parasympathetic, rest and digest. Its purpose is to take that nervous system and relax it, right? And so that's a very useful tip I'm going to give everybody right now, because every time in your day, when you feel like you're pulling your hair out, you're having some biological effect, things are not going right, try that program. And I recommend using it as a microcurrent infusion. Why? Because microcurrent scientifically is proven to increase ATP production in your body by up to 500%. It's proven scientifically to increase amino acid transport, which is the building blocks for proteins, by up to 40%. It's proven scientifically to increase protein synthesis, in other words, the absorption in the cell, by up to 70%. This is science. This is not Healy science. Healy just uses that because it's super brilliant, Marcus. Thank you very much. It's just brilliant. And so whatever program you're running, you're actually having this biological influence. And again, like I said, the body's a walking, talking antenna, receiving this information and upgrading you at the cellular structure. So bring yourself into rest and digest, not just in one way. Like I mentioned before, Healy is a great way of doing that. But remember, it is your mind. Remember I said earlier, it is consciousness that solidifies matter into form. So there is a chain of command. Mind puppeteers the brain. Brain puppeteers the body. So change the mind, you change the body, right? Now we're infusing into the body so that we can, but if the mind doesn't surrender and allow, you're not going to get the body to actually get on board with it. So remember to move this body into this rest and digest, this parasympathetic, this healing state, the bed rest program on this job sleep page, it's called bed rest. It's called bed rest, right? Does that make sense? I mean, in order for you to rest and go to sleep, what do you have to be? Can you be in fight or flight? No.
No.
No. So it's not making you sleepy. It's just laying out the foundation for sleep.
And I think it's huge, Ken, like, because I mean, I get that a lot, and I've noticed it on myself. And because I mean, I did Mighty reach out to me. It's like, I have bad insomnia, and sometimes when I run the sleep program, it gets worse. And I can promise you that there is a big chance that unconsciously you're becoming attached to the outcome. You are kind of like, is this working? Is this working? Is this working? And I can promise you that can happen without you even realizing it. It really is so subtle, especially when you're in that sleepy state where your mind is somewhat awake and sleep. It can be very subtle, but really the best advice I can give you, you can definitely. I've personally experienced the benefits of a sleeping program from the coil, and I really feel like it puts me in a relaxed state. But I know that's 50% of the work that's happening. The other 50%, it's right here. And if you can acknowledge that you are worried about work, worried about family, worried about life, if at that moment at night you know for a fact there is something that's concerning you, that's going to prevent you from sleeping. So it is very important. One needs to just learn to let go of that. It is possible. It just requires a certain degree of training. The mind is something, it's like a muscle that needs to be trained, and it needs to, one needs to learn how to let go of that burning coil.
We're at the end of our hour already. I mean, that was pretty fast. But in closing, let's just think about this for a moment. This is a very big issue. It's an epidemic, I think, in our country. Sleep, or the lack of, and it's a side effect of this stress response that we're constantly under all the time. And so we can do breathing exercises. If you spend just, I like to say 10 repetitions of a breath in which you are inhaling half the length of time as you're exhaling, right? And you're following your breath. Now, this is there's a lot of people do this with silent retreats. Follow the breath in through the nostrils, all the way up through down through your throat, all the way into the lungs. Follow it in your mind. Just follow it in your mind. Like, can you see every little bit of oxygen molecules going into the body? And you do that inhale, and that takes half as much time as you exhale. Now you exhale slower, and in your mind, well, flow with the air back out of your nose, in through your nose, out through your nose. And the reason I'm saying through your nose is because when you breathe through your nose, it stimulates nitric oxide within your vascular system, right? And that nitric oxide is a vasodilator, allowing your entire vascular system to expand and relax. And your heart rate will start to go down, because when you have larger pipes, it takes less pumping to get the same amount of fluid through, right? What happens to a smaller hose? More pressure, more pump. So this is the whole process of relaxing your body. 10 reps of that. Just give it a try tonight, right? Everybody just give it a try. So your inhale is a count of 1, 2, 3. Your exhale is a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then again, in, out. Now you can do a shorter repetition, 2 and 4. I like 3 and 6. Right? Start with 2 and 4 if you can't get there. Right? Don't stress out about it. Right?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of exercises. There's box breathing. So if you want to keep it simple, 4, 4, 4, 4. So breathe in 4, hold 4. You've got, you can count from 20 to 0, and that's gonna keep you kind of like your mind busy. And it's just look it up, breath work. It's like a science, and it's if you want to make it really effortless, as Ken said, through the nose. And just to finish up, because I know we're past the hour, I did see that Pingley had the question of how do I know if I improve energetically within one program. That's a question that one can only answer oneself. That's something you really need to feel yourself, and you will know energetically if you feel aversion, if you feel happy, if you feel joy, if you feel sadness. That's something that you feel, right? That's energy. That's something you feel.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Henry, very much for joining me tonight. Thank you, audience. You were awesome. The recording for this show will be popping up on the YouTube page pretty quickly. And remember, that is the Healy World Americas YouTube page. There's a section on there for the Tech Tip Tuesdays. And if you want to save the chat, folks, in the chat box right there, there's 3 little dots, as Henry mentioned earlier. Click on those. There'll be a saved chat. If you're on your PC or laptop, it will allow you to save this when our call ends. There'll be a little icon or a little message on your screen, save chat. And you got it. Okay, guys. Hey, thanks for being here. We'll see you again next week. Keep your eye on the schedule and the Telegram group, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Henry.
Absolutely, Ken. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night, everybody.